Okay, thank you. So, Hare Krishna, we are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 10. We are starting chapter 10 today. The title is The Trunk, Branches, and Sub-Branches of the Chaitanya Tree. So, you may recall that last two classes, we talked about the tree, and we said Lord Chaitanya is the tree, Lord Chaitanya is the trunk, Lord Chaitanya is also the water, the watering. He is also the gardener, and he also enjoys the fruit and distributes the fruit of the tree. So, I will discuss how it's hard to conceive that somebody can be the gardener and the tree, and that the tree can enjoy the fruits, because we know that that doesn't happen in the mundane world. So, very, very uh, special situation, but inconceivable. But again, everything about the Lord is inconceivable. So, in this chapter, we'll get the details of who those branches are. And then the branches are the branches, sub-branches. Who are they? And we'll understand also why we are mentioning all these names that we'll see in this chapter. Okay. So it says the chapter describes the branches of the tree named Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As I was saying, the Lord is the tree also. So text 1. Sri Chaitanya Padambhoja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Kathanchit Ashriyat Yesham Swapi Tad Gandh Bhag Bhavet. Translation. Let me repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto the bee-like devotees who always taste the honey of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If even a doggish non-devotee somehow takes shelter of such devotees, he enjoys the aroma of the lotus flower. So it's very interesting how the very first verse of the chapter, which is basically supposed to be like a Mangalacharan, praising the Lord for enabling the writer to write this chapter or this book, and how it changes from chapter to chapter. In other words, the relevance of the chapter is reflected in the first verse. So here, the main point being made is that Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author, offers his obeisances unto the bee-like devotees, and explains why the devotees are being called bee-like is that they taste the honey of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is said that the Lord's feet are so nectarian that even the Lord wants to taste it. So do we have an example of the Lord tasting his own foot? Do we have an
Yes,
example?
Yes, Prabhu. When we sing, that he's lying on the leaf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Banyan leaf. This is when Markandeya Rishi had requested to see his Maya. He was thrown in this ocean of devastation for the entire night of Brahma. And as he was swimming in total darkness, he saw this light, blue light, and there he saw the banyan tree. And on the tree, the Lord in a child form was lying on this leaf of the tree, and he was sucking his toe, the big toe. So again, making the point that even the Lord wants to taste. He said, why should only my devotees taste the nectar? Why not me too? So that me too led him to do this. But anyway, the point is that this nectar coming from the lotus feet of the Lord, and that is why it's called lotus feet. There are many reasons why it's called lotus feet. One of them being it's so soft, soft as lotus. And the one being it provides the has the qualities of lotus, which is cannot be touched by mundane things, which is contamination. And because everything about the Lord is lotus, coming from even the Krishna Loka, which is in the form of a lotus flower. Then he's saying, even if a doggish non-devotee, I will explain that in the purport, somehow takes shelter of such devotees, he can enjoy the aroma of lotus flower because the devotees have tasted the nectar of the lotus flower. Okay, let's read the purport, then talk more about what's meant here.
I'll read the purport, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Purport. The example of a dog is very significant in this connection. A dog naturally does not become a devotee at any time, but still it is sometimes found that a dog of a devotee gradually becomes a devotee also. We have actually seen that the dog has no respect even for the tulasi plant. Indeed, a dog is especially inclined to pass urine on the tulasi plant. Therefore, the dog is the number one non-devotee. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtana movement is so strong that even a dog-like non-devotee can gradually become a devotee by the association of a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Sivananda Sena, a great householder devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, attracted a dog on the street while going to Jagannath Puri. The dog began to follow him and ultimately went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was liberated. Similarly, cats and dogs in the households of Sri Vatsat Thakura were also liberated. Cats and dogs and other animals are not expected to become devotees, but in the association of a pure devotee, they are also delivered.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare.
Thank you. So basically, a dog is very rarely a devotee and the dogs don't understand any principles of devotional service. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave an example of how the dogs may urinate on a tulsi plant, which is supposed to be very sacred. And therefore, it's like Prabhupada says, number one non-devotee. But the Sankirtan movement is so strong that even a dog like non-devotee can gradually become a devotee simply by the association of the devotees. And the Prabhupada gives example of the dog who started to follow Shivanand Sen, who was in charge of the party walking from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri. And that dog followed throughout the journey and then went to see Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya threw him a bite of grains from his plate. The dog ate that and was delivered. He went to Golok Vrindavan. Similarly, there's another story about a dog that Lord Chaitanya had brought home himself when he was a child. And his mother, Sachi Mata, was not in favor of keeping a child, saying, "We are Brahmins. We don't have dogs, but that dogs contaminate everything." But Lord Chaitanya insisted, so she did not say anything. But after a few days, when Lord Chaitanya was taking a bath with his friends at the river Ganges, she released the dog from home. So he ran away, and then some boy went to Lord Chaitanya and said, "Your mother has released the dog, now he's gone." So Chaitanya was very, very angry. He came home, started fighting with his mother, then went out to look for the dog. And he found the dog in downtown Navadvip, and he was dancing Hare Krishna, he was dancing and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, standing on his two hind legs. and dancing and chanting. And very soon everybody saw a plane came from Golok Vrindavan, put the dog within his body on the plane and took him back to Godhead. So the point is that even a dog can be delivered by association of a devotee. So that's how powerful the devotees are, and they are powerful because they taste the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Text 2. Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Prabhu. And all glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Shiva. So there are many, many devotees. They're all included when they say Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Vrinda means a group of them. So all of them are included. And Krishnadas Kaviraj is glorifying all of them. Text 3. Ei malir ei vrakshar akathya kathan e vishnu mukha shakhar nam vivaranam. The description of Lord Chaitanya as the gardener and the tree is inconceivable. Now hear with attention about the branches of this tree. So we talked about how this tree is inconceivable, that the same person is the gardener, same person is the tree, same person is the trunk, same person is the fruits, and enjoying the fruits at the same time. So very inconceivable. Anyway, so then Krishnadas Kaviraj says, okay, now I'm going to talk about the branches. It basically means the devotees heading those branches. Text 4. चैतन्य गोसाई जत पारिषद चय Guru Laghu Bhavtar na hoy nischay. So very important point being made in this verse. Krishnadas Kaviraj saying the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were many, but none of them should be considered lower or higher. This cannot be ascertained. Sometimes we make the mistake, oh, he's more senior than them, therefore he's better or superior. We shouldn't do that. And Krishnadas Kaviraj saying all the names that we will mention, they are all pure devotees. So there's no hierarchy. We don't say this one is better than that, or this one is more pure than that. No, they're all pure and they're all equal. So the point he's making is that he'll mention the names, but it's not in any ascending or descending order. They're all equal in purity, which is what the next verse is going to say, text 5. Jat jat mahant kaila tasabar ganan kehu kari bare nare jesht laghu pram. All the great personalities in the line of Lord Chaitanya enumerated these devotees, but they could not distinguish between the greater and the lesser. So many great devotees have written about these devotees, but they don't talk about who's better, who's greater, who's lesser. They don't do that because there's no such thing. That concept does not exist. Text 6. Ataiv tasabare kari namaskar. Naam mat kari dosh nalobe amar. I offer my obeisances unto them as a token of respect. I request them not to consider my offenses. So again, the point being, somebody will be mentioned first. But Krishna is saying that doesn't mean I'm saying that he's the better or he's the greatest. It's just I have to take all the names and I offer them all my respect. There's nobody getting lesser respect than other. Okay, text 7. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prema Taroh Priyan Shakha Rupan Bhakta Ganan Krishna Prema Phal Pradhan. Translation. I offer my obeisances to all the dear devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the eternal tree of love of Godhead. I offer my respects to all the branches of the tree, the devotees of the Lord, who distribute the fruit of love of Krishna. So again, same point being made again. Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, I offer obeisances to all of you, all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. I offer my respect to the branches, which is devotees, the devotees of the Lord, but these devotees are distributing the fruit of love of Krishna. So remember last chapter, Lord Chaitanya said, I'm alone, I cannot distribute to everybody. I'll miss people. So therefore, you all help me. So those all helpers became the branches. Let's see the purport and understand a bit better.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami sets the example of offering obeisances to all the preacher devotees of the Lord Chaitanya without distinction as to the higher and lower. Unfortunately, at present, there are many foolish so-called devotees of the Lord Chaitanya who make such distinctions. For example, the title Prabhupada is offered to a spiritual master, especially to a distinguished spiritual master such as Shil Rup Goswami Prabhupada, Shri Jeev Goswami Prabhupada, or Shri Bhakti Vedant Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. When our disciples similarly wanted to address their spiritual master as Prabhupada, some foolish people became envious, not considering the propaganda work of the Hare Krishna movement. Simply because these disciples addressed their spiritual master as Prabhupada, they became so envious that they formed a faction along with other such envious persons just to minimize the value of the Krishna consciousness movement. To chastise such fools, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami very frankly say, केहा करी बारे नारे ज्येष्ठ लघु का
Lagu Krama.
envious, considering one preacher to be very great and another to be very low. This is a material distinction and has no place on the platform of spiritual activities. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami therefore offer equal respect to all the preachers of the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who are compared to the branches of the tree. ISKCON is one of these branches and it should therefore be respected by all sincere devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So again, the point being made is that all the devotees who are distributing the name of Krishna and therefore the love of Krishna, they're all equal. There's no hierarchy. That's why it says Kriha Kari Barenare Jeshta Lagukra. Even the great devotees who describe these other devotees have not tried to distinguish who's greater, who's lesser. That's the sentence we had in text 5 of this chapter. We just read that. Anyway, and then Prabhupada says that ISKCON is one of the branches. Therefore, it's directly connected to Lord Chaitanya. Text 8. Shivasa Pandita or Shirama Pandita, Dui Bhai, Dui Shakha, Jagate Vidita. The two brothers Shivas Pandit and Shriram Pandit started two branches that are well known in the world. So this is a purport that I'll explain this.
I can read, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
In the Gaura Ganodesha Dipika 90, Shivas Pandita Shivas Thakur is described as an incarnation of Narad Muni, and Sri Ram Pandit, his younger brother, is said to be an incarnation of Parvat Muni, a great friend of Narada's. Srivas Pandita's wife, Malini, is celebrated as an incarnation of the nurse Ambika, who fed Lord Krishna with her breast milk, and as already noted, his niece Narayani, the mother of Thakur Vrindavan Das, the author of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, was the sister of Ambika in Krishna Lila. We also understand from the description of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat that after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's acceptance of the sannyas order, Srivas Pandit left Navadvip, possibly because of feelings of separation and um, How do you say this word, Prabhu?
Domicile. Domicile.
Domicile at Kumarahatta.
Thank you. So actually, text 9 will tell you. I'll just read the text 9 also before I explain. Shripati Srinidhi Tar Doi Sahodar Chari Bhai Das Dasi Grah Parikar. Translation. The two brothers were named Shripati and Srinidhi. These four brothers and their servants and maid servants are considered one big branch. So there are four brothers. Two of them are more famous than the other two. Shiva's Pandit, we all know, and according to Gaur Ganodesh Deepika. Does everybody know what Gaur Ganodesh Deepika is?
No, Prabhu.
It's a book that tells you who the associates of Lord Chaitanya were in Krishna Lila. So we see many, many examples where all the devotees will hear, read about, had a role in Krishna Lila also. And we get who they are from this book, Gaur Ganodesh Deepika. Okay, so in that book it says Shiva's Pandit or Shiva's Thakur was an incarnation of Narada. And his brother Shri Ram Pandit was an incarnation of Parvat Muni. Now, Parvat Muni and Narad Muni were very close friends. And there are many stories of their pastimes together. I'll share with you one very quickly. You all know the story of the hunter who used to half kill the animals. And Narad Muni passed by that area. He saw these half-killed animals suffering in pain. So he found out who was causing this, and he met the hunter and asked him, why do you half kill them? Kill them completely if you have to. Now, killing is bad enough, but half killing them is really bad. So why do you half kill them? And the hunter said, because I enjoy watching them suffer. So that was the mindset of the hunter. But anyway, with the association of Lord Narmani and his preaching, he gave up his hunting business and sat down outside his village, started chanting the holy name. Anyway, sometime later, Narad Muni decided to come visit him, and he brought with him Parvat Muni, his friend. When the hunter, who had now become pure by now, saw his spiritual master Narad Muni coming, he ran towards him. And Parvat Muni observed that this man was running very awkwardly. So he asked Narad Muni, why is this man running so awkwardly? And Narad Muni said, he's trying to avoid having to step on any ants on the ground. So a man who was enjoying half killing big animals like deer and all that was concerned about stepping on an ant. And that's the benefit and the effect of associating with a pure devotee. Anyway, so that's Parvat Muni. So two brothers, they were Narad Muni, incarnation of Narad Muni and Parvat Muni. Then it says Shiva's Pandita's wife, Malini, who used to be in Krishna Lila, a nurse by the name of Ambika, who actually fed Lord Krishna her breast milk. Can you imagine the fortune of a woman who has the opportunity to feed her own milk to Lord Krishna? Anyway, so she became then, that Ambika became Malini Mataji, wife of Shiva's Thakur. And Ambika had a younger sister in Krishna Lila. Her name was Kilimbika. And she had the good fortune of eating the remnants of food from the plate of Lord Krishna. So you can imagine how fortunate these two sisters were. Anyway, so Ambika became Malini, but Malini carried the mood of the mother of the Lord. So she's known to have also breastfed Lord Chaitanya, and she regularly breastfed Lord Nityananda, even though Lord Nityananda must have been in his 40s at that time. But that was the kind of relationship. And Lord Nityananda also loved Mother Malini like his own mother. He was always obedient to her, always trying to serve her. One time he came to their house and he saw Mother Malini crying. So very concerned, he went to her and said, Mother, why are you crying? And she explained that she was washing the worship paraphernalia of Shiva's Pandit, and a crow came and picked up a ball that he used for Achman and flew away with it. And she said, when he finds out, he's going to be very angry upon me. He'll say it's my fault. So I'm just crying. I don't know what to do. So Lakshmana's mother, please do not worry. I'll get it back. And he looked up and he saw that that crow had come back. And he said to the crow, please bring the bowl back. And the crow flew away and brought the bowl back, put it near the feet, lotus feet of Mother Malini. So that was the kind of relationship that Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityanand had with the wife of Shiva's Thakur, whom they considered their mother, Mother Malini. So, and then his niece, Mother Narayani, actually became the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote, what did he write? Anybody? No idea? Vrindavan Das Thakur.
ये श्री चैतन्य भागवत
Yes. Yes. So Narayani Mataji also got the remnants of Lord Chaitanya's plate when she was a little child. And when the Lord was displaying his Mahaprakash Lila in Shiva's Angan, Narayani was only 4 years old. But Lord Chaitanya made her so intoxicating with the ecstasy of love that she was dancing and crying and fainting at the age of 4. Okay, all right. Okay, so I think that's enough on text 8 and 9. Let's go to text 10. दुई शाखार उपशाखाए तासवार गणन जार ग्रह Mahaprabhu Sada Sankirtan. There's no counting the sub branches of these two branches. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu held congregational chanting daily at the house of Shiva's Pandit. So that's what we're saying. Every day, I should say every night, the devotees with Lord Chaitanya will get together at the house of Shiva's Pandit, and they'll do dancing all night in that house. Has anybody been to that house in Navadvip? Yeah, so it's not very far from TOVP. You can actually walk, it's maybe 1 kilometer. Still there, and you can see that place. Okay. Text 11. चारि भाई समन से करे चैतन्य रे सेवा गौरचंद्र बिना नाही जाने देवी देवा. These 4 brothers and their family members fully engaged in the service of Lord Chaitanya. They knew no other god or goddess. It's a very important point. So let's read the purport, then we'll discuss this.
I can read, Prabhuji. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has said, अन्य देवाश्रय हनाई तुम्हारे कहूनु भाई ei bhakti param karana. If one wants to become a pure, staunch devotee, one should not take shelter of any of the demigods or goddesses. Foolish Mayavadis say that worshipping demigods is as good as worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but that is not a fact. This philosophy misleads people to atheism. One who has no idea what God actually is thinks that any form he imagines or any rascal he accepts can be God. This acceptance of cheap gods or incarnations of God is actually atheism. It is to be concluded, therefore, that those who worship demigods or self-proclaimed incarnations of God are all atheists. They have lost their knowledge as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:20. Kamaistaistairhritajnana prapadyantenya devataha. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods. Unfortunately, those who do not cultivate Krishna consciousness and do not properly understand the Vedic knowledge accept any rascal to be an incarnation of God, and they are of the opinion that one can become an incarnation simply by worshipping a demigod. This philosophical hodgepodge exists under the name of Hindu religion, but the Krishna consciousness movement does not approve of it. Indeed, we strongly condemn it. Such worship of demigods and so called incarnations of God should never be confused with the pure Krishna consciousness movement.
Haribol. So, very bottom line, serving or worshipping a demigod or a so-called incarnation of God is not pure Krishna consciousness. Simple as that. So, what does Prabhupada say? How can we tell if this is a genuine incarnation? What's the proof? Or where's the proof? How can we prove this is a genuine incarnation or not?
It's mentioned in the Shastras.
Exactly. If it's not in the Shastras, it's not genuine, period. Some Shastra, some Purana must have mentioned that this is an incarnation of God, then it's okay. But somebody says, no, no, I am anyway. Well, sorry. And those who believe that, they're atheists, non-devotees. Okay, text 12. Now, we just finished reading about the four brothers. That's your two branches. Now, third one. Acharya, this text 12. Acharya Ratna Nam Dhare Bada Ek Shakha Tar Parikar Tara Shakha Upashakha. Another big branch was Acharya Ratna, and his associates were sub branches. Text 13. Acharya Ratnere Nam Shri Chandrasekhar Jar Ghare Devi Bhave Nachila Ishwar. Translation. Acharya Ratna was also named Shri Chandrasekhar Acharya. Drama in his house, Lord Chaitanya played the goddess of fortune. It's very interesting. So let's read the purport.
I can read Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Dramatic performances were enacted during the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the player who took part in such dramas were all pure devotees. No outsiders were allowed. The members of ISKCON should follow this example. Whenever they stage dramatic performances about the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna, the players must be pure devotees. Professional players and dramatic actors have no sense of devotional service, and therefore, although they can perform very artistically, there is no life in such performances. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to refer to such an actor as Yatra Dhale Narada, which means official Narada. Sometimes an actor in a drama plays the part of Narada Muni, although in his private life he is not like Narada Muni because he is not a devotee. Such actors are not needed in dramatic performance about the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to perform dramas with Advaita Prabhu, Shivas Thakur, and other devotees in the house of Chandrasekhara. The place where Chandrasekhara house was situated is now known as Vrajapatana. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established the branch of Sri Chaitanya Matha in this place. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to accept the announced order of Lord Chandrasekhara Acharya was informed of this by Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and therefore he was present when Lord Chaitanya accepted the sannyas from Keshav Bharati at Katwa. It is he who first spread the word in Navadip of Lord Chaitanya accepting sannyas. Sri Chandrasekhara Acharya was present during many important incidents in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He therefore forms the second branch of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, where was it? Yeah. Chandrasekhar was very close devotee and associate of Lord Chaitanya. That's why this line is there. So Sri Chandrasekhar Acharya was present during many important incidents in the past as well, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one incident was mentioned just now, which said this present during the time of Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas, and actually he was especially requested by Lord Chaitanya to be there. But there are others also that I will mention in a second. Just want to give some background. Actually, Chandrasekhar Acharya or Acharya Ratna, as mentioned here, he lived very close to Lord Chaitanya's house at that time, Nimai Pandit. And in some places, they say actually Chandrasekhar Acharya was an uncle of Chandrasekhar Acharya, of Lord Chaitanya. And he had no children. So he actually accepted Nimai Pandit, Lord Chaitanya again, as his own son, and would often invite him, play with him, talk with him, quite often when Lord Chaitanya was a child. And after Lord Chaitanya's father, Jagannath Mishra, went back to Godhead, then Chandrasekhar Acharya became Lord Chaitanya's guardian and a father figure. And just like Lord Chaitanya did at the house of Srivas Pandit, Lord Chaitanya would also quite often hold kirtan in Chandrasekhar Acharya's house. And one time they did a play in his house where Lord Chaitanya actually dressed up as Lakshmi Devi. Some places said he dressed up as Rukmini Devi, which is the same thing basically. But he did that, and he played his part so wonderfully that even Mother Shachi could not recognize him. So I mean, talk about acting and makeup. And as the purport mentioned, that when Lord Chaitanya decided to take sannyas, Lord Nityananda informed Chandrasekhar Acharya, the first person he informed was Chandrasekhar Acharya, that the Lord is going to take sannyas. And as soon as he heard that his Lord Chaitanya is going to take sannyas, he started feeling, the mood of separation. He fell down on the ground and he asked the Lord being Lord Chaitanya, are you really going to plunge the whole Navadvip into darkness by going away? And was crying like anything. Lord Chaitanya saw it, he embraced him and said, Acharya Ratna, please understand, although I may accept sannyas, but I will forever remain bound within the temple of your heart. Sadhguru Grastra Hariyo, as Lord Vishnu told the Vasamuni, Lord Chaitanya saying the same thing. I'm bound in your heart. Your heart is a temple, and I'm residing there as a deity. And he said, please be patient, because you must assist me in my sannyas ceremony. So Lord Chaitanya is also specifically making a request to Chandrasekhar Acharya to be present in the ceremony. And I have been to that place, Katua, and there's this banyan tree there under which Lord got his hair shaved. And around the tree, in Hindi, there's a word called Chabutara, which basically means it's a circle of stones. It's one continuous place where all the devotees sat and cried as they watched Lord's hair being shaved. Anyway, so as the text says, Chandrasekhar was one of the main second branch of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And actually, later on, the spiritual master of Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisasarji Maharaj Prabhupada, he established his headquarters of Chaitanya Mutt at the same place where the original house of Chandrasekhar Acharya was. It is also mentioned that, some places it's mentioned that in Krishna Lila he was Subhadra, And somebody says he was moon god. Moon god basically comes in the picture only when Ras Lila was happening. And you know that Ras Lila lasted whole night of Brahma, which is 4.3 billion years. And the moon stayed in one place, did not move for 4.3 billion years. So sometimes mention that it's actually that Chandradev who appeared as Chandrasekhara, and some people say no, it was Subhadra. And regardless, doesn't matter. That is the history of Chandrasekhara. Okay, we can move text 14 unless there are any questions. Okay, text 14. पुंडरी की विद्यानिधि बड़ शाखा जानी जार नाम लोया प्रभु कांदिला अपने. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, the third big branch, was so dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in his absence, Lord Chaitanya himself would sometimes cry. Wow. So we have heard about devotees crying in separation of the Lord, but now we're hearing about the Lord crying in separation of the devotee. You can imagine how pure a devotee, how important devotee this must be. That's Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So let's read the purport to understand better who he really was. So any volunteers? There are not many people today, so some people have to repeat.
Can I read it?
I'll do, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, madam.
You
Okay,
wait,
madam, you
Mataji.
can.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Purport. In the Gaura Gunadasa Deepika 54, Srila Pundarika Vidyanati is described as the father of Srimati Radharani in Krishna Lila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore treated him as his father. Pundarika Vidyanidhi's father was known as Banishwara, or according to another opinion, Suklambara Brahmachari, and his mother's name was Ganga Devi. According to one opinion, Banishwara was a descendant of Sri Sivarama Gangopatyaya. The original home of Pundarika Vidyanidhi was in East Bengal, now Bangladesh, in a village near Dhaka named Bahia, which belonged to the Marandra group of Brahmana families. Sometimes these Marandra Brahmana were at odds with another group known as Radhya Brahmanas, and therefore Punadika Vidyanidhi's family was upstaged and at that time was not living as a respectable family. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura writes in his Anubhashya, one of the member of this family is living in Vrindavana and is named Sarojananda Goswami. One special characteristic of this family is that each of its members had only one son or one son at all, and therefore the family was not very expensive. There is a place in the district of Kattagrama in the East Bengal that is known as Hata Ajari, and a short distance from this place is a village known as Mukhala Grama, in which Pandarika Vidyanidhi's forefathers lived. One can approach Mahalaya Grama from Kattagrama either on horseback, by bullock cart, or by steamers. The steamer station is known as Annapurna Gata, the birthplace of Pundarika Vidyanidhi, is about 2 miles southwest of Annapurna Gata. The temple constructed there by Pundarika Vidyanidhi is now very old and much is needed of repair. Without repair, the temple may soon crumble. There are 2 inscriptions on the bikes of that temple, but they are so old that one cannot read them. There is another temple, however, about 200 years south of this, 200 yards south of this one. And some people say that this is the old temple constructed by Pundarika Vidyanidhi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Pundarika Vidyanidhi his father, and he gave him the title Brahmanidhi. Pundarika Vidyanidhi later became the spiritual master of Gadananda Pandita and an intimate friend of Swarupa Damodara's Gadadhara Pandita, at first misunderstood Pandita Vindhyadili to be an ordinary pounds and sellingsman, but later, upon being corrected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became his disciple. Another incident in this life of Pandarika Vidyanidhi involves his criticizing the priest of the Jagannatha temple, for which Jagannatha Prabhu chastised him personally by slapping his cheeks. This is described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata Antyakanta, chapter 7. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura informs us that during his time there were still 2 living descendants of the family of Pundarika Vidyanidhi who were named Sri Harakumara Smrititita and Sri Krishna Kinkara Vidyalankara. For further information, one should refer to the dictionary known as Vaishnava Manjusa. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So, anybody, as the purport says, who was Radharani's father, what is the name of Radharani's father?
Vrishma.
King
Vrishbhanu.
Vrishbhanu. Yes. So, anybody who was King Vrishbhanu or Mother Radharani's father, because Lila must be very important. So, that personality appeared as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So, right off the bat, we know something very important. Then he also was the disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Who were some of the famous disciples of Madhavendra Puri? Anybody?
Prabhu Chaitanya,
No, he was not. Lord Chaitanya was not.
no, his guru was
Okay, so what was his name?
Madhavendra's Ishwar Puri.
Yes, so this
Ishwar
one,
Puri and Ramananda Puri.
Parmanand Puri. Okay, who else? Some very famous people. Advaita Acharya, Lord Nityananda, they were all disciples of Madhavendra Puri, and so was Pundarik Vidyanidhi. It is mentioned that actually Advaita Acharya and Pundarik Vidyanidhi got initiated by Madhavendra Puri almost at the same time, or very close to each other. He was also a very close friend of Swarup Damodar. Who was Swarup Damodar?
Who wrote about his diaries, right?
Yes. But what was his role? He was a very close associate of Lord Chaitanya. And in Krishna Lila, he was Vishakha Sakhi. Anyway, so Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a very close friend of Swarup Damodara. And there's a very funny incident that after a long separation, they met in Jagannath Puri, Swarup Damodara and Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And in a, what you call, in a fun, joyful mood of friendship, they start trying to touch each other's lotus feet to get the dust from each other's feet. So now you can imagine the scene. They're trying to touch each other's feet and they're trying to avoid being touched by the other person. So essentially a scuffle began as they tried to simultaneously catch the feet of one another, but at the same time avoided having their own feet touched. So both being quite strong, nobody won, but everybody who watched this had a great laugh, including Lord Chaitanya, who was there and really enjoyed that, sporting play, if you want to call it. Pundarik Vidyanidhi came to Navadvip because he wanted to reside by the banks of Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya, of course, like he knows everything. So he knew Pundarik Vidyanidhi is about to come to Navadvip. And one day Lord Chaitanya was sitting with the devotees and he started crying and saying, Pundarik, my friend, my father, started crying. And everybody was amazed, like, what's he doing? Who's he calling? So they asked him, why are you crying in this way? And who's Pundarik? So the Lord describes as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. His character is very extraordinary. And get this, just by hearing his name, the whole world is purified. Just by hearing his name. So Narottam Das Thakur, in a very famous bhajan, O Hai Vaishnava Thakur, he says, Gangara parasya hoile paschate pavan, darshane pavitra karo sehi tomargo. That, O Vaishnava, simply by giving darshan, you purify people. But now Lord Chaitanya is saying, forget darshan, just taking his name, just hearing his name, the whole world is purified. And then Lord Chaitanya said, just a caution, this devotee, he dresses and looks like a materialistic person, the sense enjoyer. And he has lots of money, it looks like he's enjoying it. So nobody is able to recognize him as a Vaishnava. But Pundarik Vidyanidhi is constantly merged in what they call, deep ocean of devotion for Krishna. And then Lord Chaitanya said, another characteristic of Pundarik Vidyanidhi is that he never bathes in river Ganges. It's very interesting. He came to live by the river Ganges, left his home to came Navadvip to live by that, but he never goes to bathe in the Ganges. Why? Because he's afraid to touch the holy water of Ganges with his feet. He thinks that is disrespectful to Mother Ganga. So we all have this controversy about whether to take bath in Radha Kund or not. There's another example here, where devotees say it's disrespectful to Ganga Devi to have my feet touch the waters. And Lord Chaitanya said, he only goes to take darshan of the Gangaji at night and from a distance because he cannot tolerate the sight of people going in the river Ganges and performing offensively like gargling, cleaning their teeth, washing their hair, and who knows what else. He cannot tolerate that, so he doesn't go at daytime when people are there. He goes at night. But he never engages in deity worship without having taken a drink of the Ganges water. And Lord Chaitanya said, he'll soon be arriving here, but you will not be able to recognize him. But I'm crying because I'm not able to see him right now. This is the beauty of the character and the importance and the devotion of Pundarik Vidyanithi. So one day Pundarik Vidyanithi came to see Lord Chaitanya. It was already quite late at night. And as soon as he saw the Lord, he became so overwhelmed with emotions that he could not even pay obeisances. He just ran, and the Lord was feeling the same way, so he ran towards him, and they both met and embraced like crazy. And they washed each other with their tears of love. And Lord Chaitanya was still saying, Pundarik, my father, my treasure of love, which is Premanidhi, that title he gave which is mentioned here. And so devotees knew that he's very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Now, interestingly, Gadadhar Pandit was unaware of these qualities of Pundarik Vidyanithi. So sometime after, not long, but sometime after, Pundarik Vidyanithi came to Navadvip Dham. Mukunda, who was a very wonderful singer, he said to Gadadhar Pandit, let me take you to the house of a wonderful devotee, a pure devotee. You would like to meet him. So Gadadhar said, yeah, of course. So they went. There was Pundarik Vidyanithi, almost like on a stage, with a very opulent bed, with a huge pillow, satin, silk sheets and all that. Sitting on that, chewing on betel nut. And beside him was a table with gold pot and gold glasses to drink water from. Two servants were finding him with shower. He had nice oil, fragrant oil on his hair. And he just looked like a gratified. So Gadadhar Pandit thought in his mind, why did Mukunda bring me to meet this person? He seems like a materialistic person. Mukunda saw the expressions on the face of Gadadhar Pandit, and he immediately understood what he's thinking. So to avoid Gadadhar Pandit from committing offenses, Mukunda chanted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And interestingly, it was same verse, one of the two verses, that the disciples of Vyasdev had chanted when Shukadeva Goswami, who had run away from house, heard and came back to Vyasdev. And the verse was, Oh Bhakiyam Istan Kalkutam. Like, oh, what kind of a Lord is this who delivered Putana and gave her the position of his own mother when she had come with poison in her breast and came with a desire to kill him? Who is more merciful than that? So as soon as Pundarik Vidyanithi heard that, he jumped from his bed, started dancing like mad, started crying, laughing, showing all the ecstatic symptoms of love, fainting, falling down on the ground, all those things. And Gadadhar Pandit said, oh my God, this is a pure devotee and I have made an offense. So feeling very bad, he went to Lord Chaitanya. Said, what should I do? I made this offense. By the way, it also goes to show that the sin may not be effective if only thought in mind in the age of Kali. You have to commit it to suffer. But an offense, even in your mind, kills your devotional service. So Gadadhar Pandit had only thought in his mind. He didn't say anything to anybody, but only thought in his mind. And that became an offense. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya said, the only way now for you is to go back to Pundarik Vidyanithi and ask him to become your guru, initiate you. So Gadadhar Pandit went back. and apologized for his thinking like that and begged him to please initiate him. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi initiated Gadadhar Pandit. So he became the spiritual father of Gadadhar Pandit, which makes sense because as King Vishbhanu was the spiritual father of Mother Radharani. So Radharani has now come back as Gadadhar Pandit, he's come back as Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and they've re-established their father-son relationship or father-child relationship. Then very interesting thing happened. Sometime later, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was not there. Gadadhar Pandit went to Lord Chaitanya and said, I explained the importance of the mantra that I was given by my spiritual master to somebody who's not qualified, which means now I have become contaminated and the mantra is no longer effective. So will you please reinitiate me and give me that mantra again? And Lord Chaitanya said, but you have a living guru. Why are you coming to me? And Gadadhar Pandit said, but you're the Lord, you can do it. He said, no. Yoga is living and he'll be here in 6 or 7 days. And you can ask him for reinitiation. So that said, okay. And then sure enough, 10 days later, Pundarik Vidyanidhi came back. Gadadhar Pandit went to him, explained to him the whole situation. And very kindly and lovingly, Pundarik Vidyanidhi gave him the reinitiation of the mantra again. So interesting because you would say, well, wait a minute. Gadadhar Pandit cannot become contaminated. Yeah, that's true. But I think it's just because to show us people, how things work. And you can become contaminated if you share your private mantra with anybody else, but explain it to non-devotee. The second lesson here is that if you have a living guru, you cannot just leave him and go to another guru because you think the other guru is superior. That doesn't work. So both lessons were given by making Gadadhar Pandit the instrument of these lessons. Okay, one last pastime that is mentioned in the purport about Lord Jagannath slapping, slapping Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So what happened was that they were in Jagannath Puri, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi was his friend Surup Damodar, and the festival was, I think it was Udan Shashti festival. And on that day, Lord Jagannath's servants, they dress him in a cloth which still has starch in it. Now, normally, a cloth with starch on it must be washed before put on the body of the Lord. But the custom Jagannath Puri was that no, they did not wash it. Just put the cloth with the starch on the body of the Lord. Now, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a very pakka devotee, and he was very attached to proper etiquette for devotional service. So he saw this and he was very upset. So he said to Surup Damodar, his friend, that I don't understand. Why do they give this unwashed cloth to the Lord? They should know the rules better. These rules are very well described in the Vedas and the Puranas. So why are they giving this? So Surup Damodar said, the Lord is beyond these rules and regulations. Now they become just a general custom, and therefore there's no fault. Lord doesn't care. But Pundarik Vidyanidhi said, I don't accept this conclusion. I agree that the Lord cannot be contaminated, but his servants should follow the scriptures. The Vigraha is beyond material qualities, but the devotees are not. So they should not break the rules. And we have to judge what's proper and what's improper in the service of the Lord. So again, there's a lesson here that we don't have the right to make a judgment or to find fault with Lord's devotees. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi is doing this pastime to give us that lesson. Anyway, so that discussion happened and they went home. That night, Lord Jagannath appeared in the dream of Pandit Vidyanidhi, and he looked very angry, very, very angry, to the point where Vidyanidhi was so frightened in his dream. And then he saw Lord Balaram also joined, Lord Balaram also joined Jagannath. They both started slapping him. They were slapping each cheek, so left cheek by one and right cheek by the other, and slapped and slapped and slapped and slapped and slapped. And he was crying, "Oh, Krishna, please save me. Krishna, please save me. Forgive me for my offense." And the Lord Jagannath spoke to him. And he said, "There's no end to your offensiveness. There's no question of pure and impure in my case." And the same holds true for our devotees. And you live in Jagannath Puri, you should know this. You should know better. If you thought what was going on in Jagannath Puri was impure, then why did you stay here at all? Go back home. Back home being Navadvip. If you want to maintain your purity, go back where you came from. Like this is really, really serious, real anger. So anyway, he woke up in the morning and he went to the temple, and devotees could see the marks of the Lord's slap on his cheeks. His cheeks were swollen. And so they said, laugh. So Putri was very embarrassed, but you also understood the Lord has come there, to give a lesson to other people, but also to show how dear Pandit Vidyanidhi was to the Lord, both Lord Jagannath and Lord Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya. Because let's face it, the Lord only comes to his dearest devotees to personally punish him or punish them in that way. Anyway, so then that night, Lord Jagannath and Balaram came back in his dream, and laughing all the time, they slapped him again. So but this time, Pandit Vidyanidhi was feeling real joy at being slapped by the Lords. Anyway, so that was, as described in detail by Vrindavan Thakur Chaitanya Bhagavat. Okay, anyway, so that is text 14. 9-11. Okay, we still have time. Let's do text 15. Bada Shakha Gadadhar Pandit Gosai Tehun Lakshmi Rupatar Samuke ho nahi. Gadadhar Pandit now is the fourth branch. It's described as an incarnation of the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. No one therefore can equal him. So how does that verse go? In first chapter, text 14, I think. Panch Tatattvakam Krishna, Bhakta Roop Swarupakam, Krishnavataram,
Bhaktataram Bhaktakhyam Namami
Namami
Bhakta Shaktikam.
Shaktikam. So Bhakta Shaktikam, that is Gadadhar Pandit. Okay, so let's read the purport and explain more. Any readers?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
In the Gaura Ganodesha Dipika 147-53, it is stated Sri Krishna's pleasure potency, formerly known as Vrindavaneshwari, is now personified in the form of Sri Gadadhar Pandit in the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has pointed out that in the shape of Lakshmi, the pleasure potency of Krishna, she was formerly very dear to the Lord as Shyam Sundar Vallabha. The same Shyam Sundar Vallabha is now present in Lord Chaitanya's pastime as Gadadhara Pandit. Formerly as Lalita Sakhi, she was always devoted to Srimati Radharani. Thus, Gadadhar Pandit is simultaneously an incarnation of Srimati Radharani and Lalita Sakhi. In the 12th chapter of this part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a description of descendants or the cyclic succession of Gadadhar Pandit.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So we won't get into a lot of details because we all know about Gadadhar Pandit, but I had forgotten, or maybe I didn't know, that is a combined incarnation of Radharani and Lalita Sakhi, which is very interesting. It's very interesting also because Lalita Sakhi was what you call Vam Bhav, which is she was always yelling at Radharani and yelling at Krishna. But it came in the mood of Chandravali, which is very submissive mood, right winger. So very interesting that is a combined incarnation of Radharani and Lalita Sakhi, but in the mood of Chandravali. Okay, text 16. तार शिष्य उपशिष्य तार उपशाखा हे मत सब शाखा उपशाखा lekha. His disciples and grand disciples are his sub branches. Describe them all would be difficult. 17. वक्रेश्वर पंडित प्रभुर बड़ प्रिय भृत्य एक भाव च विश्व प्रहर जार नृत्य. The fifth branch, Vakreshwar Pandit, the fifth branch of the three, was a very dear servant of Lord Chaitanya's. He could dance with constant ecstasy for 72 hours. Try dancing for 2 hours. He's dancing for 72 hours. Let's read the purport and we'll explain more.
I can read it.
Please go ahead.
In the Gaura Gandesha Deepika 71, it is stated that Vakreshwara Pandit was an incarnation of Aniruddha, one of the quadruple expansion of Vishnu, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Anirudh, and Pradyumna. He could dance wonderfully for 72 continuous hours. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu played the dramatic performance in the house of Shivas Pandit, Vakreshwar Pandit was one of the chief dancers and he danced continuously for the length of time. Sri Govinda Dasa, an Orient devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was described the life of Vakreshwara Pandit in the book Gaura Krishnodaya. There are many disciples of Vakreshwara Pandit in Orissa and they are known as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, although they are Uriyas. Among these disciples are Sri Gopal Guru and his disciple Sri Dhyan Chandra Goswami.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about him. So everybody knows who Aniruddha is? Where do we hear that name?
In the quadruple Prabhu?
Yes. So Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Also in Krishna Lila, Aniruddha was who?
Grandson.
Yes, grandson of Lord Krishna.
Mhm.
Okay. His father was Pradyumna. Okay, so let's talk about Vakreshwar Pandit a little bit. So as it says here, he was quite a dancer. Imagine somebody dancing for 72 hours non-stop. And after that, Lord Chaitanya said to Vakreshwar Pandit, I have only one wing like you. But if I had another wing like you, certainly I could fly in the sky. What an interesting statement. He was not just a great dancer, but a great singer also. And whenever Lord Chaitanya had his Sankirtan party, Vakreshwar Pandit would be there right from the beginning. He would be there, dancing and singing. And whenever there were dramas at Shiva's Angan, which is the house of Shivas, he'll be playing some role or just simply a dancer in the play. And annually would join the Rath Yatra at Jagannath Puri. He'll be leading one of the parties. Remember, the lecture used to have 7 parties, dance parties, kirtan parties. So he'll be leading one of them. Also, interestingly, Vakreshwar Pandit established the deities known as Shishi Radhakant. And he did that in Kashi Mishra's house, which is very close to Gambhira temple where Lord Chaitanya used to reside in Jagannath Puri. Anybody been there, Gambhira temple? Anybody been Jagannath Puri?
Jagannath Puri we went two times, but we don't remember these like other places.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody should take the time to go to Jagannath Puri. I mean, one of the amazing pastime places.
Maybe we went there, but we don't remember the name.
No worries. Go again, please.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, 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 very important place. Lord Chaitanya spent 18 years in that place. Anyway, he also had a very famous disciple as mentioned in the purport, Gopal Guru. Does anybody know the story about Gopal Guru?
Yes, Prabhu.
Go ahead, tell me.
So it was that he said to someone that you can chant Krishna's name even in the washroom. That one, right?
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. I, I don't remember the whole thing, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him Guru because he gave a right answer to someone.
That's
That
right.
Lord's name doesn't become impure.
Correct.
So you can continue to chant even in the washroom.
That's
Because
correct.
he pretended that he's trying to close his mouth, but his mouth is still murmuring the mantra.
Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, now his disciples mentioned here also. So the grand disciple Lord Chaitanya, um, grand disciple Bhakeshwar Pandit is Dhyan Chandra Goswami as the last line in the purport. So Dhyan Chandra Goswami wrote a book. I can't remember the name of the book. But anyway, he wrote a book, and in that book, he says Bhakeshwar Pandit is an incarnation of Tung Vidya Sakhi, one of the 8 Sakhis. So interestingly. So some place says it's Aniruddha, some place it's saying it's Tung Vidya Sakhi, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's possible. Anyway, so there's one very important um, okay. Let's read the next 3 verses, then I'll explain the other verse part. Text 18. आपने महाप्रभु गाए जार नित्य काले प्रभु चरण धरी Vakreshwar bole. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally sang while Vakreshwar Pandit danced. And thus Vakreshwar Pandit fell at the lotus feet of the Lord and spoke as follows. Text 19. Dash sahastra gandharva more deh chandramukh tara gaye mui nacho tabe more sukh. O Chandramukha, Lord Chaitanya, please give me 10,000 Gandharvas. Let them sing as I dance, and then I will be greatly happy. So purport explains that the Gandharvas who are residents of Gandharva Loka are celebrated as celestial singers. Whenever singing is needed in the celestial planets, the Gandharvas are invited to sing. The Gandharvas can sing continuously for days, and therefore Vakreshwar Pandit wanted to dance as they sang. Text 20. प्रभु बोले तुम्हें मोर पक्ष एक शाखा आकाशे उड़िताम यदि पाऊ आर्ष पाखा. We are talking about this. Lord Chaitanya replied, I have only one wing like you, but if I had another, certainly I would fly in the sky. Okay, so that's it about Vakreshwar Pandit. Now let me tell you about another pastime with Vakreshwar Pandit. There was another devotee. His name was Devanand Pandit. And he was famous for his Bhagavatam classes, but he was not a pure devotee. Anyway, one time Shivas Pandit or Shivas Thakur went to hear his discourse of Bhagavatam. But as he was listening to the discourse, Shivas Thakur was moved by the verses, and he started feeling the ecstatic love and started crying, cry loudly. There were some ignorant students of Devanand Pandit. They thought that this was creating a disturbance. So they picked up Shivas Pandit physically and took him outside the hall and left him outside. And even though Devanand Pandit watched the whole thing happen, he did not stop his students from doing that. But this is very disrespectful. I mean, this concept of book Bhagavad and the person Bhagavad. So here's Devanand Pandit glorifying and respecting book Bhagavad, but not respecting person Bhagavad. So when Lord Chaitanya heard about that this is how his students disrespected a Mahabhagavad, a pure devotee, and his dear devotee, Shivas Thakur, he was very angry, and he gave actually many instructions regarding Bhagavad. And he said that those who read the book Bhagavad but don't offer respect to devotee Bhagavad is simply offenders. I mean, they may read the Bhagavatam for ages, for years and years and years, but they'll never get the love of God. Because the devotee Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat, they're not different. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya actually started to neglect Devanand Pandit and did not bestow his mercy upon him. So what happened was that one evening, Vakrishna Pandit came to perform his dancing and chanting of the holy name, at the house of a devotee. And Devanand Pandit heard that Vakrishna Pandit has gone there, so he also went there. And he noticed the ecstasy, the symptoms of the ecstasy, I should say, on the body of Vakrishna Pandit. So he became very attracted. And I should say, mesmerized by the qualities and the dancing of Vakrishna Pandit. So there was a large crowd gathering around that place. So Devanand Pandit took a cane in his hand and he kept the crowd controlled so that they will not obstruct the ecstatic dancing of Vakrishna Pandit. So Vakrishna Pandit was able to perform his chanting and dancing for 6 hours without being disturbed. So when he sat down after finishing his dancing and chanting, Devanand Pandit came off his dandavats, and Vakrishna Pandit became so pleased that he blessed Devanand. He said, Krishna Bhakta ho. You have become a Krishna devotee. May you attain the pure devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And from that day, the real devotion was awakened in the heart of Devanand, simply by the mercy of another pure devotee, Vakrishna Pandit. So this is why they say you cannot get love of Krishna by your own efforts. You have to receive mercy of the devotee of the Lord and or the Lord himself. So then after this blessing and having the pure devotion awakened in the heart of Devanand Pandit, then Mahaprabhu, when he saw him, and he bestowed his mercy upon Devanand Pandit. And he said that because you have served Vakreshwar, I have noticed you. Whoever becomes devoted to Vakreshwar attains the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, because Vakreshwar is filled with the energy of the Lord, is filled with the love of Krishna. So anybody who serves him receives that same energy and same love of Krishna in his heart. He says, Vakreshwar's heart is an abode of Krishna. Therefore, as Krishna dances, Vakreshwar also dances. So wherever one can get the association of Vakreshwar, that place is the combined or combination of all the holy places, and it's as good as Golok Vrindavan. So that is Vakreshwar Pandit. So I think it's 9:27. Not I think. I know it's 9:27. So I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions or comments or corrections or whatever.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I have a question, Prabhu.
Thanks, Rana.
Prabhu, we were just talking about fault finding, and we all do it, bro. How? And you said during the class that that Krishna does not accept even when we are doing it just in our mind. But Kali Yuga is known for being, so cooperative. So we've been all hearing about, doing Mansi Yatra and doing this and that. Just thinking in the mind, you get the result of doing it in actual. So, Prabhu, if we get the aparat so easily as well, then there's no way we will be in progress. Like it's you were mentioning like Jagannath Puri mein jao, then you're seeing people doing things which are not done as per, maybe we can say as per our Gaudiya Vaishnava. Or when we even go to Vrindavan, there are times we see people performing such things and we're like, okay, no. Then how to tame mind in such a way that you don't see that in people?
Yeah. So that's an excellent question and a very relevant, pertinent, and practical question because we all suffer through that. And so, but there are ways that we find hard to implement, but if implemented, it would be very helpful. So, for example, I tell people always ask yourself one simple question. And the question is, who died and made you a judge? Like, why do you think you have the power to judge other people? And really sincerely and seriously ask yourself that question. That's one. Second thing is, you're always told to look inwards. And you'll be shocked at the number of faults we have. If we start exploring those, we'll have no time to explore the faults of other people. Third thing, Lord Chaitanya said in the third verse of Shikshastakam, Tanadapi Sunichena Tarori Vasahishnu, Amani na Manandel Kirtiniya Sadhar. He said, take an humble attitude. But who is not able to take humble attitude? What's the reason why so many of us find so hard to be humble?
Probably because our ego is so high.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to learn how to control our ego. And the only way we can learn how to control our ego is if we distinguish between the false ego and the true ego. As soon as we think false ego is the true ego, in other words, we start thinking we are this body, the whole nonsense starts. I'm more beautiful than you, I'm richer than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm more educated than you, and how dare you try to become better than me? And then when we find that we are not the best, then inferiority complex takes over. Inferiority complex means a life of envy. In a mood of envy, all you see is dirt. All you see is the problems. All you see is the fault. You see fault in the faultless. Like Lord Chaitanya was being criticized left and right before he took sannyas. People were getting ready to beat him. Then in that false ego, you also want to be respected. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the desire for prestige, desire for praise, desire for recognition is simple, fastest way down to hell. Anybody suffering from that cannot develop love of Krishna. And finally, Lord Chaitanya said, Amanina Manandena. Manandena means try to offer respect to other people. And Rupa Goswami said, if somebody is simply chanting the name of the Lord, you offer respect in your mind. At least do that. Prabhupada told us, call everybody as Prabhu. So we call everybody Prabhu, but in our mind we're thinking, no, I'm the real Prabhu. I'm just calling you Prabhu because I have to be polite, right? So all those things, they force us to make offenses. So then the question becomes, what if you have made the offenses? Now you recognize you made the mistake. What to do now? And that solution was given by Lord Chaitanya to Gadadhar Pandit. He said, go back to the person you have offended, apologize, and ask to become his servant, disciple. Lord Vishnu did the same thing to Durvasa Muni. Don't come to me. Go back to my devotee and apologize. So let's spend the next 10 years of our life apologizing to everybody we offended. But it'll take that long. At least me, I know, it'll take that long. But without that, there's no hope. If nothing else, let's at least remember all the time that an offense even in our mind is an offense to destroy our devotional service. So let's be very, very careful. I mean, think about this. How much money does it cost to respect somebody in your mind? Right? But somehow we're not able to do that. Because we're always thinking of ourselves as superior or asking, why am I not superior? Either way, it leads to wrong behavior. We should also understand when we criticize somebody, whatever we're criticizing the other person for, that quality is downloaded in our heart and our brain. So we end up having that quality. So that's the price of criticism also. So I think if you keep all this in mind, maybe we'll make less offenses. If not offenseless, at least let's make less offenses. And we practice by being very conscious of all this. And maybe there's hope. So am I answering your question, Anna?
Prabhu, is it ever possible to have that clean slate?
Well, it is possible. It's hard. It'll take a lot of Chaitanya Marjanam, right? But Chaitanya Marjanam with Pranadapisunicha attitude. As Lord Chaitanya said, unless you have that attitude, you can chant for millions of lives. But you will not get love of Krishna. But along those lines, the story of Mukunda, we talked about Mukunda, the story about when Lord Chaitanya was giving darshan to all the devotees in whichever form they were worshipping their deities. But he would not allow Mukunda to come in. So the devotees were sympathetic. They asked Lord Chaitanya, how come we're not allowing Mukunda to come in? And Lord Chaitanya said, he's an offender. He goes to Mayavadis and tells them, yeah, you're right. He comes to the devotees, they say, you're right. I cannot tolerate that. Therefore, no entry for him. So the devotees went back and told Mukunda, sorry, no entry for you for this reason. And Mukunda was crying and crying and crying. And he said, okay, fine. Please ask the Lord, when will he see me? So they went back to Lord Chaitanya and said, he just wants to know when you will see. And his anger, Lord Chaitanya said, after 10 million births. 10 million births. So they went back and told Mukunda, the Lord says 10 million births. And he said, dancing in ecstasy. My Lord will see me, my Lord will see me, my Lord will see me. Start dancing in ecstasy. So the devotees went back to Lord Chaitanya. He's dancing in joy. He's ecstatic. And then Lord Chaitanya smiled. He says, anybody who has that much faith in my words deserves my darshan. Call him in. So that's another one. If we have that much faith in Krishna's words, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's words in Bhagavata, the words of the devotees of Krishna, then we have hope. So those are some of the things.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay.
Prabhu, can I request one last thing?
Sure, sure.
I am somebody who learns with graphics. Like I need to see. So when we talk about all these names, it's like even though I've heard it, but like when you question, sometimes it's like you question. I have like no idea who's Pundrik Vidyanidhi, who's this, who's that. Is there a way? I mean, like, is there a chart somewhere where we know who's who?
Yeah, it's a book called Gaur Ganodesh Deepika.
Oh, the one we were talking in this.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a real book. You can get a PDF of that book, but it's got thousands of names. So maybe you can just remember the more important ones.
Yes.
But I'll be
Just the first 15.
yeah, but I'll be honest with you, it's not that important that you know who they are. For some, yeah, some very famous ones, yes. But beyond that, it's not important. What's important is who they are in Chaitanya Lila and what they're doing in Chaitanya Lila. That's
Yes.
the important thing.
I was actually listening to one of the class by Radheshyam Prabhu, and he's like, you have to tell who is whose friend. And I'm like, there you go, that's a bouncer. Nobody
Yeah.
can answer the person
Yeah.
like me. Answer.
No, and I'm not very good with names either, so I find it very hard to remember. I know few, but not many.
If we can just get like the basic 15, 20 names, which we always use when we're talking about
Sure.
Chaitanya Prabhu, I think I'll do some research and I need to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's not that difficult. The book is available online.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Okay. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरुदेव की जय। Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, sir.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
अच्छा
Jai Shri Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jai. Oh, Tripta, you're there. I guess maybe in name only. Okay. Anyway, Hare Krishna.